Good morning, guys. I want to talk to you this morning about something called implicit memories and how they might be impacting you and keeping you from moving forward towards your goals and your desires. And so I have a question for you. Have you ever experienced something where you felt like you were on the brink of achieving something, of finally experiencing something that you desired, and then at the last moment, it just slipped through your fingers? And you felt this just wash of disappointment come over you, or discouragement. Your whole body kind of collapsed in on itself, and this familiar feeling of, just disappointment, maybe even a little hint of rejection, or just an emotion that felt really familiar on the other side of that. And I want to share with you this morning this topic of implicit memories, because this is something that I realize has been hindering me and holding back me from my goals of writing a book, of having a more having my work known in the world so that women can find me in my services and be able to do the work that I want to do, even my self-care goals. And so sometimes some of the desires that we might have are something as simple as, yes, like I just carved out time. I'm finally going to start this, taking time for self-care and start this exercise program, or I'm finally going to go on this vacation, or I got this opportunity presented in front of me, and I everything in me is saying yes to it. Maybe there's this knowing that I need to step back from this job and create more margin in my life, or I know that I want to write a book, and we get all excited and our whole body lights up and we just feel expanded and there's hope rising up in us. And then it could just be a day, it could even just be an hour, and all of a sudden that hope kind of deflates and you see my whole posture deflates when that happens. And so this is something that's really familiar to me, and I realized this was at play in me being able to move forward into writing a book that I wanted to write. And I want to share with you the role of implicit memory in this. And so what you're experiencing when that happens is a body memory, okay? We can go to therapy and talk therapy and start talking about, gosh, I don't know why I can't seem to make this happen or make these changes in my life. I keep experiencing this over and over again, and we're trying to figure out what in the past has contributed to this. But what we're doing from that place is we're trying to use conscious recall to find the thing in the past that's impacting us today, because we know the things in our past impact us today. They always do. But with implicit memory, what we're doing is recognizing that the memories are stored in our body, okay, beyond the level of consciousness. They are unconscious. A lot of these memories were formed even before we had verbal language for them. So it could be as much as a baby being in a bed, crying out for connection, to have its needs met, articulating its desires, right? Articulating its needs and desires through cries, and no one comes and no one shows up, and it goes on and goes on. And what do you think that baby starts to feel? It starts to feel a hint of, no one's coming, no one hears me. I guess this isn't going to happen, right? And so that's a memory that gets stored in the body before there's language attached. It's what we call an implicit memory. So through our lives, we have implicit memories are basically, let me give you the definition so I explain it correctly to you. It's a type of long-term memory that is not consciously recalled, but it affects our behaviors, it affects our emotional responses and reactions and our mental processes, and it affects our ability to move forward towards our goals. And so it refers to the ability to learn and remember information without being aware of it. But here's what I want you to understand about it. They're encoded and stored with the emotions in our somatic system, in our body, and we're unable to retrieve them through conscious effort. And so we can try all day to figure out what's going on and figure out what's blocking us, but every time we have a familiar emotion that comes over us and we go, that's familiar, I've experienced that before, I've felt that before, that's a key, that's a roadmap to the previous experiences in your past, often going all the way back into before you were 2, that are still impacting you, affecting you today. And they have an effect on our thinking, our feeling, our actions, our habits, our behaviors in the present. And the thing that I want you to understand is if I'm having an emotional reaction to let's say my husband walks in the room and he has a look on his face and I have an emotional reaction to that. It feels like rejection to me or disinterest to me. And that feels familiar. Like I've experienced that before. Well, that's less about what's happening in the present. I'm interpreting his facial expression or his tone of voice based on my implicit memories and my past experiences. Okay. And so getting back to my experience today on what I wanted to share with you is I realized that this was really familiar, this feeling of getting excited about a desire, knowing that everything in me, that there was a big fat yes. My whole body was lit up. God was affirming this within my spirit. And then a few days later, I'd feel that disappointment or that defeat. And I realized this was a conditioned habit. I had learned to expect disappointment. I learned that if I ask for something or I express my desire, it's going to be met with nobody understanding it or me not being able to articulate it and it not coming to pass. And so my conditioned response was to go back into defeat. And so this is automatic, right? And so some of the things that I realized were holding me back is these beliefs that are encoded with these experiences, such as I'll never get to do what I want to do. I won't be able to articulate my desires. They won't be understood. I'll be rejected and it won't be validated. Okay. And so I may not be aware of these stories, but these stories are encoded with the emotion that's held in my body with the old story as an implicit memory. Okay. And so the key to figuring out what's blocking us is to find and become aware of when we start to feel that familiarity. I've felt this before, right? And once we can do that, we can start to find the stories that are attached and what the origin of the story is, what it's rooted in, where it came from. And from there, we can begin to reprint and create new coding and new pathways in our brain to have new experiences. And so I'd love for you to start by trying that on. If you're going through your day to day, and all of a sudden you feel a strong emotional reaction or you feel yourself shut down with disappointment after being excited and hopeful about something, I want you to just notice and check in with yourself and ask yourself the question, does this feel familiar? Is this something I've felt before? Okay, and if so, you've likely landed on an implicit memory. You've landed on a stored experience. And now your body, your mind is confirming and looking for evidence to prove that true. And so what happens if we don't go back and find the origin of the story and reframe and update the story and create new experiences that disconfirm the past ones, we're going to continue to recreate the same experiences over and over and over and over. Okay, which is why we get stuck and why we don't move forward. So I hope that was helpful. There's a lot more we could say about this. I would love to invite you into something. If this excites you and you go, oh my gosh, that helps. That helps me understand why this keeps happening and what's going on and why just trying to think about it or just trying to change my beliefs or say a different thing is not helping me. I'm not moving forward here. I keep experiencing this. This summer, June 15th, for 12 weeks, I am partnering with my friend Carrie Day, who is a trauma and healing coach specializing in betrayal, trauma, and narcissism. And for those of you that don't know me, my specialty is in physical and emotional restoration, healing from codependency, empowerment, and in helping people move forward towards their goals. And so through habit change, like we're talking about in neuroconditioning, but together we are going to bring a program to you that have been so excited and been working on hard to prepare, and it's called Healing Together. It's a 12-week program for women that are ready to overcome their trauma and finally live life fully, finally step into those desires instead of shrinking back in defeat and thinking that it's not possible for you, right? If you're ready for that, if you're ready to make changes in your health, in your career, in your relationships, in any areas that you feel stuck, this is for you. And we're going to be talking all about this and helping you to personalize it and find out what are those implicit memories that are stopping you? What are the stories that are attached? And we're going to help you begin to learn how to create new conditioning and new pathways in your brain so that you can begin to have new experiences and finally realize, wait a second, what if it is possible? What if that's just an old story that's showing up? And so I want to leave you with this scripture that I was reading this morning that I was as I was reflecting on this. It's Isaiah 43:18-19. It says, "Don't remember the former things. Don't dwell on things past. Watch. I'm about to carry out something new. And now it's springing up. Don't you recognize it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and paths in the desert." So what that scripture is saying, and what was reminded me of this morning, is that the way to change is by creating a new way, a new path. And God is in the business of doing that. He's always in the business of restoration. He's always in the business of restoring possibility to where we feel disappointment and discouragement. But what he's asking us to do is to watch and to recognize and to look for the pathway. And so the first step in doing this is to notice and recognize that familiar that's coming up. Oh, I just felt myself go into rejection. I just felt myself go into discouragement and defeat and despair and disappointment. And notice that familiar pathway, that old way that's presenting itself in our body that we keep going back into. That's the former way. Okay, and we're not saying deny the feelings. When you feel rejection, allow yourself to feel, but we don't want to stay in the energy that we want it to point us toward what needs to be healed. Okay, I'm still believing that I'm rejected. I'm still believing that there's lack and I don't have possibility to step into this desire. I'm still believing nobody's going to hear me. These are the former things, right? And so what we're going to do in this program and what this verse is all about is creating new pathways, looking for and watching out for the new ways and the new possibilities where things can go differently. But we have to co-create that with God by being open to seeing and expanding our vision, because those implicit memories shape our vision. They shape the way that we view the world. They shape the way that we view ourselves. They shape the way we view God and each other. And so if we are going to carve a new pathway and see what he wants to do and allow him to do something new in our life, then it starts with going back and finding and healing the stories that are imprinted somatically in our body and beginning to create new possibilities that way. And so I invite you into that. If that's something that you're curious about and want to know more at, I'm carving out time tomorrow to finish up this landing page and get the links in there so that you can start signing up for this, because we're going to be offering an early bird discount during the month of May. And if you get in on this early and secure your spot, because there will be limited spots to make this a safe environment for people to get more personalized attention, then let me know now and say, Kate, please share that information. Just say, what is the word? Let's say change. Just type that in and let me know. So I hope you guys have a great day. I hope that is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. What do you want to learn more of about that? So talk to you soon.